there, this is Timbo Turtle. I have Mr. Gleeson back with us this week to talk a little bit more about why he thinks the Earth is flat. Mr. Gleeson, I think you wanted to start at talking about the horizon.
In Elements of Astronomy by Lockyer, page 82, published by Appleton and Company, 1883, is an illustration of 5 vessels at various distances from the shore to the horizon line and beyond, as shown in the first diagram following. This he gives to demonstrate the globular shape of the Earth. He says, moreover, if we watch ships putting out to sea, we lose first the hull, then the lower sails, until the highest part of the masts disappears. If the surface of the Earth were flat, or an extended plane, this would not be so.
Well, I'd have to agree with that, I'm afraid.
We would not like to flatly deny what Mr. Lockyer may see with his theoretical vision, and thousands of others who never gave the matter a demonstrated test.
It's a little bit rough.
Yet, we can give our testimony, as one who has been only about 2 years a seafaring man, and since that time our attention having been called to the practical demonstration of the matter, we have always been able to behold the sails at a greater distance than we could see the masts.
Well, the sails are way bigger than the masts.
If we divide a circle into 360 degrees, the usual and accepted rule, the angle from the parallel or vertical from the center to the circumference is the same, regardless of the diameter of the said circle, though the farther we go from the center, the greater the divergency of the line from each other or wider the space.
It's a bit convoluted way of saying you can see basically the same distance in every direction.
We make these remarks for the benefit of those who are not acquainted with geometrical terms and facts.
I sometimes wonder if that is for your own benefit.
Now, the angle or diminution of our vision, or that of the average eye, is about the same as that of 1 degree, or about the same ratio or angle of a degree. To further demonstrate the theory, stand in the middle of a railroad track, where the track is straight for 1 mile, and though it be upgrade, you will find the rails appear to meet at a mile or less. This will fairly illustrate the convergency and diminution of sight.
Diminution of sight, I think you may have made up. We refer to vision acuity, which is different for everybody, and some people are able to see shapes at quite a distance.
One thing let us notice and bear in mind, the horizon line is ever on a level with the eye, as will be illustrated further on, and as we are viewing a vessel from the shore we are lifted up from the level of the waters, and between us and the horizon line in the distance is the dark blue water, as a background covering the vessel's hull, and as the sky, when clear, is lighter than the water, it furnishes a background on which the outlines of the objects are more distinguishable than the waters, which are ever below the horizon, the level of the eye. This cut is no exaggeration of the view of the vessel on the horizon by the telescope. We have in company with others watched the vessel receding until it had entirely disappeared, with a field or opera glass partially restored it to sight, and at the same time have used the telescope of 40 powers, which would restore the vessel to the water's edge. Were the Earth a globe, this would not be so.
But Mr. Gleeson, you know that if you continued to watch it with that telescope, the ship would disappear completely, and no powered telescope would bring it back.
But what is the matter with Mr. Lockyer's theory?
Nothing that I could see.
Yeah, the Copernican or Newtonian entire. All say that the vessel has gone over the hill and disappeared. Now, what has the telescope done? Has it brought the vessel nearer to us, or has it taken us nearer to the vessel, or has it enabled us to look over the hill or around the corner? In other words, has it not simply lengthened out our vision? I prefer to believe the latter.
And flat earthers today make the same silly claims.
But one more illustration with the telescope. We go out of a starry night, we behold the 7 stars.
7 stars, that was an interesting one. I can't find any reference to that. Whereabouts are you looking? Because we can see far more than that with our naked eye.
We put the telescope to our eye, and within the radius of the 7 stars, if our telescope is a powerful one, there are more stars than we are able to count, or at least we are not able to distinguish the 7 from the multitude. Again, what have we proven by this?
I would say nothing.
Simply, that we have extended our short vision to meet the focal or vanishing point of the stars, whose rays lacked a few miles of reaching our vision, or that part of the Earth that we inhabit. Will we still believe there is a hill between us and the vessel?
It's not a hill, Mr. Gleeson.
Another oft-repeated and supposed objection to the Earth being a plane is the following, by Mr. Lockyer, p. 83, again, the roundness of the Earth has been proved by navigators, who, sailing in one direction, east or west, as nearly as the different bodies of land would permit, have returned to the place from which they set out. This, to my mind, is about the weakest point that one ever observed in a so-called scientist, publisher and writer of astronomical school books.
I couldn't find those school books.
Mr. L knows, or should know, that navigators on the great seas sail by a compass whichever points to the north center and the south circumference.
I suspect he knows that they use much more than a compass.
He should know that if he stands with his back to the North Pole or center, that his face is to the south circumference, no matter where on the earth or seas he may be, whether in South America or Asia. Now, in sailing or traversing the earth by a compass, east or west, you would keep your course by keeping at right angles with the compass, whose attraction point is ever north, and is it any more unreasonable to expect that you would arrive at the same place in going either way, if you continue on the same latitude or the same distance from the center, than it would be to expect that if you take a mechanical compass, on a flat board or square block, to scribe a circle? Go either way, you arrive at the same point. The point or object that is movable simply goes around a center, regardless of the shape of that on which it moves.
In principle, I agree with that.
But should the navigator start south from any part of the earth, and continue his journey, what would be the terminus? It would be the everlasting bounds of ice. No navigator ever went farther, or even as far as 80 degrees south.
Really, Mr. Gleeson? Remember Captain Cook, about 100 years before he wrote this book? He sailed south, discovered New Zealand, east coast of Australia, circumnavigated Antarctica. It is true that he didn't get to 80 degrees south because that would be right in the middle of the landmass.
The magnetic current and attraction of the earth and seas is to the aerial or geographical center of the earth and seas, and not 4,000 miles beneath our feet.
We don't say it's beneath our feet.
This we shall endeavor to demonstrate more fully further on.
Well, maybe next time. I think I really have to leave it there, Mr. Gleeson. Thanks for listening and watching, and I'll catch you next time.